I could still remember the morning my life shifted in a way I hadn't anticipated. I woke up to the sound of my husband, Mark, fumbling in the kitchen. We were newly married, just 6 months in, living in the cozy suburban house we'd bought together. When I slipped into the hallway to fetch my robe, I heard a voice I didn't immediately recognize, warm, slightly shy. It was someone I'd only met twice, my brother-in-law, Ryan, who'd just flown in from Chicago, supposedly for a week, maybe 2. He sounded like he was settling in. When I peeked into the kitchen, I saw Mark leaning against the counter, arms crossed, watching Ryan with a half-smile, almost amused. Ryan was tall, broad-shouldered, with brown hair that curled at the nape of his neck. He handed Mark a steaming mug of coffee. That was the start of it, the beginning of an unplanned chapter in our lives. I greeted Ryan, hugging him briefly. He hugged me back, his warmth surprising me. You know how people say you can sense if someone's a good fit? Well, that was how it felt. Mark introduced him more formally, but I could tell Ryan was nervous, even though he tried not to look it. He was supposed to have meetings in Chicago later that week, important matters, he'd said, but then a storm had grounded flights. That was the official reason given, and I accepted it. But when he told us it might stretch into next week, I hesitated only for a second before shrugging and saying, no problem. We have plenty of space. The next day, he rose early. He helped Mark clear the table, load the dishwasher, pour coffee. He was polite, respectful, always smiling. I made breakfast, pancakes, and he asked if he could help. That spiraled into a routine, chores, errands, dinners. His presence became woven into our daily life so naturally that soon I couldn't recall what mornings felt like before. Midweek, I found myself observing Mark and Ryan, the way they joked quietly over a crossword puzzle, the long phone calls Ryan made outside, pacing and serious-looking. One afternoon, I returned home first and found Ryan in our den, laptop open, brow furrowed. He looked up, startled, then gave me a weak smile. I'm sorry, I didn't expect you back so early, he said, standing quickly. It's fine, I replied. Everything okay? He nodded, closing the laptop. Just trying to get ahead on a work thing. I appreciate you letting me stay so long. It's no trouble, I said, and gave him a gentle smile, but my heart felt tight. It had already been nearly 2 weeks. Was that still short-term? I wondered. That evening, over dinner, Mark casually mentioned the length of Ryan's stay. You know, why, it's been a bit over 2 weeks now. Ryan nodded seriously. I didn't expect the project to drag. I'll be booking a flight tomorrow, definitely. I listened to them trade logistics, trying to quiet the buzz of unease. Mark assured him the spare room was fine, that I wasn't bothered. I said nothing. Their exchange felt entirely benign, adult, normal, but somewhere in the back of my mind, I felt a twinge of that original discomfort. I'd never had a long-term houseguest before. That night, I lay awake thinking. Ryan was kind, respectful. I liked him. But I missed our intimate rhythms, Mark's quiet humming as he showered before bed, the way he'd slide in behind me as I washed dishes, how we shared small jokes at breakfast. Now, with Ryan just outside, our morning glances felt muted. And I found myself watching him, the way he polished his shoes, the neatness of his clothes, his apologetic smiles when I caught him staring. I nudged Mark gently in bed and whispered, I miss us. He squeezed my hand back, but I could see worry on his face, as if he, too, wished our routine could reset. The next morning, Ryan left early for a supposed meeting downtown. I watched him walk out the door and felt a rush of relief. For a moment, the house was mine again. But the relief faded quickly into loneliness. I made my morning coffee and sat on the porch, watching leaves rustle in the gentle breeze. I realized how used I'd become to having him here. By the end of the week, Ryan casually asked to borrow Mark's car for a day. Mark said yes immediately. I forced a kind sure, but I recognized the weight in my voice. Later, alone, I scrolled through photos we'd taken, Mark and me hiking, at the county fair, on our tiny wedding dance floor. Without harshness, I missed those little moments more than I'd expected. I missed our quiet home life, just the two of us. On Friday evening, Ryan returned late. I heard the front door close quietly. I imagined his knock and anticipation, but there was none. Mark greeted him in the hallway with a cheerful voice. I stayed silent, carrying my book into the living room. But I could feel them exchanging stories in low tones. I sensed Mark leaning in closer than usual, soothing. I felt invisible, but I swallowed that emotion. I reminded myself, this was Mark's brother. He was family. I could be generous. I needed to be generous. Saturday morning came and we had waffles cooking when Ryan appeared at the breakfast nook. He looked tired but at ease. When the waffles were served, I caught his eyes, and mine softened. I slid a plate toward him. He smiled gratefully. "All right," he said, biting into his food. "Today I'm leaving." My heart pounded. It sounded final. Relief swelled and melted into something darker, sadness. The mornings I'd missed, the intimate routines I'd missed with Mark, and also the funny ease I'd unintentionally found with Ryan, simply existing in harmony. But finally, I could admit I wanted him to go. Mark looked at him, then glanced at me. I caught it, our silent exchange. As espresso steamed in the machine, I prayed for balance, happiness that Ryan was going back, sadness that things would shift again. We drank coffee in silence. Then Ryan cleared his throat. "Thank you, both," he said. "For everything. Especially you, Jess." He used my name, my full name, like he meant it. He shifted his weight. "I'll catch a flight this afternoon." He stood, and Mark jumped to open the door for him. It felt like an ending scene already. I lingered by the sink, heart beating too fast. I stared at my reflection in the windowpane and realized the house felt different. Full of echoes now. Ryan's departure was quiet. I locked the door when he left, the click loud in the emptiness. Then I turned to Mark. "We did it," he said quietly. I closed my eyes. "Yeah," I admitted. "We did." He wrapped me in a hug. I melted into his arms, the warmth rushing back. The house sighed with release. We walked into the kitchen together. I turned the coffee maker on. He kissed my cheek. "We're back," he said. I nodded, tears in my eyes. "We are." Over the next few days, our home began to breathe again with two rhythms, ours. There were small celebrations, a spontaneous lunch date downtown, quiet nights with popcorn and old movies, walks through the neighborhood hand in hand. We fit back into each other's routines, relearning the cadence of our togetherness. Treasure doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it returns softly, in the hush after someone leaves. And while I'd welcomed Ryan's presence, I'd missed the two of us more than I realized. His stay taught me something about love, that gratitude and boundaries can hold hands. You can cherish someone and quietly long for things to return. And that's okay.